Hello and welcome back to Only Analogue. So over the last couple of years I've been really getting into and enjoying some infrared film photography, especially in the summer months here in the UK. So today I want to talk a little bit more about why I absolutely love this film and a little bit more about some gear as well. So a little while back I actually created a video on how to shoot infrared film. So if you've managed to find your way to this video and you want to learn a little bit more and how to get the best out of your infrared film, you can click the link just at the top of this video. It's got a few more of my little tips and tricks, what to do and what not to do in there as well, and a little bit of science behind infrared film itself. So yeah, if you want to check it out, click the link at the top. I'll also leave it at the end of this video if you want to watch this video first. But today we're going to be shooting some Rollei IR 400 on medium format at a local spot that I absolutely love to shoot, but never got around to shooting it on infrared film. I hope you enjoy. So why do I love shooting infrared film so much? Well, there's a couple of reasons. The first being that I simply cannot get enough of the beautiful aesthetics that this film can create. And I love a bit of contrast when it comes to black and white. But the nature of this infrared film really harnesses such a stunning mood in any composition. It really creates a dramatic scene that we've all come to know and love. And as I've said before in a few videos, I often use film photography as a bit of an escape. It kind of takes me away from the stress of the world for a moment, and with infrared photography, it calms me down and slows me down so much so that I often find a lot of peace through just looking through the viewfinder for hours on end. And I'm often observing what's around me a lot more, you know, sort of creating a vision of how a certain shot might look on infrared film. And granted, you know, this way of shooting can be quite daunting and it can be quite stressful if you don't know what you're doing or you haven't had any experience with infrared film. But once I'd done some experimenting and I gained some confidence, I was absolutely hooked. I think that the experience itself of shooting infrared film, for me, is just as enjoyable as seeing the results. It can really open up a world of creativity. Knowing the results you're going to get make you look at things slightly differently. I mean, even the simplest shots can look absolutely stunning. So I often visit this hut on little walks and photography projects. It's somewhere I go quite often to test newer films or new cameras that I've got just to make sure that they're working. And while it's a very simple composition, I think it lends itself so well to the infrared film. As I said before, even the most simple shots in infrared can look absolutely stunning, and this is no exception. So much so that I was enjoying myself so much down there that I nearly shot an entire roll. So let's talk about gear. Today I'm shooting on my Fujica GSW 690, which you can see just up on the shelf behind me. And when I purchased this absolute beauty, infrared photography was one of the main interests I had for this camera. The Fujica lens is equipped with the focusing dot for infrared. I'm sure there's a specific name for it, I've just been calling it the infrared dot. As obviously infrared light does focus slightly differently to the rest of the visible light spectrum, but it's an index marker used on the side of the lens. In really simple terms, it's basically just there to compensate slightly for the focusing on infrared film, knowing that you'll get your shot in focus every single time. Because this camera is a rangefinder, I can leave my infrared filter on the lens all the time and do all my composing through the rangefinder patch, making life a whole lot easier. And in terms of the infrared filter itself, this is the filter that I use. It is an IR 720 filter. So I went into this a little bit more detail in my other video, but this is just a very, very basic infrared filter that I purchased off eBay. It's made by Xiaomi, Chinese company, very cheap, but it does the job perfectly, as you can see. As I'm sure a lot of you know now, I'm absolutely obsessed with panoramic photography through the Pentax 6.7, and I am aiming at looking at some text pans through the Fujica. So with that in mind, I wanted to take a little test shot down at Rye Harbour just to see how it would look, especially with infrared film. So yeah, with that in mind, I cropped one of my shots to a more panoramic style to see how it would look, and I think it came out great. Something else I wanted to try was heading down to the ancient town of Rollei to see what I could capture. It's definitely a smarter option to fill your composition on infrared film with as much foliage, water or sky as you possibly can. But I wanted to try something a little bit different, and while I'm not a massive fan of these shots and they're not much to write home about, it definitely created some dramatic results. I quite often get asked about the chemicals we used, and for my infrared film photography I've recently been getting into Nucleol BF200. And yeah, if you want to go and try it out, I'll leave the link down in the description below. It's available at Nix and Tricks. We are not endorsed by them in any way, but they're a great bunch of guys and I'm really sure they'd appreciate your support. It's a beautiful developer, works with so many black and white films, but if you're shooting infrared film, especially Rollei, these two go together so well, so I'd definitely recommend checking it out. So I've recently been getting a lot more into using my wider angle lenses, and usually, you know, with a wider angle, I quite often direct my camera towards the floor a little bit more, take out a little bit more of the sky. You know, it can be quite distracting when your horizon line's right in the middle of the frame. And you know, this is quite a common mistake with newer photographers or slightly less experienced photographers when first using a wide angle. But with the infrared, I quite often opt for having a lot more sky, or you know, I'll split the frame. Using the darker skies and the balance that it brings to the composition can create such a dramatic impact on the end result. Thank you ever so much for joining me today. I really hope you've enjoyed. If you have, please drop a like, let me know what you thought in the comments below, and please do subscribe. It's the best way that you can support us on this journey. I've got a couple rolls of infrared left, so hopefully before we see the summer out in the UK, I'm going to get out and do a little bit more with this. So definitely let me know if you'd like to see more. Thank you very much for watching today. Stay safe, happy shooting, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.